obviously McBride is going to be the big story tonight, but your defense, even when the offense wasn't working out so well, the defense was there pretty much start to finish tonight.
Yeah, and that's what we talked about. We knew, we were first half, and we're going, we're yelling about our defense, but they've got 34 points. And, obviously we didn't have that many. And so we just said to them, don't let the defense spring a leak while we're trying to work through our offense. Hold that for us, because that's given us a chance. And, we were just waiting for the moment that we could break through, find the right stuff to run, to find our way. And obviously that was the stretch that we were able to break the game open. I do think that LA ran really good stuff that we were ready for, but I just thought that they were executing it better than what we were. We were in rotation a lot. They were getting some open looks. So I thought LA actually played well, just didn't make as many shots.
You've seen it now many times when K-Mac gets on one of those rolls. Yeah. You just got to ride that, right?
Yeah. Happy for her, because I think that was the question before the game. I'll take credit for the tips I gave. Thanks, Terry. Clearly just kidding. This is Mac. This is what she does. She knows that this kind of game is just around the corner. Stick with it. And obviously we felt like we needed Courtney and Mac, to sort of shoulder a lot of the scoring burden. We were, kind of felt like T as well, just didn't get as much done. But I like the game a lot in terms of our collective, right? That we, whether it was obviously Masha being thrown into a starting job, and then, Peely getting the really meaningful minutes and really kind of showing, her improvements where she's at, Diamond, T, Carly. Like, I just thought, without their ability to play the minutes that they played today, we couldn't get McBride or, BC got in foul trouble or, Lan foul trouble or needing a blow. You need your bench to be able to survive that. And so I thought our bench gave the starters a chance when they came back in to have a little more fresh legs to make the final run.
So much with McBride is threes, but, she hit that three, but then she drove, scored, and was fouled. It kind of felt like that kind of kick-started her as much as anything. Do you agree?
Yeah, it did. And I also thought Court was more productive in our the pick-and-roll offense we were running when we found something. And I thought that was putting the defense in a bind, and they had to make a choice, tag down on a roller or stay out on Mac. Because I thought our rollers were, that was Mosh mostly. Lan got a three off of a pick and roll. Mosh, we were able to throw it to her. Courtney got some stuff, throw back to Lan. So I just thought that we had an offense that they got really, really comfortable with in terms of the options. And they were tough choices to make. And obviously Mac was a beneficiary of good execution at the point of the screen. Mosh getting out of it quickly, Courtney making the right read, throwing, what we call the U-turn pass.
To ask a little bit more about Masha, obviously she's played at a very high level for a long time, but she feels like she's just really in her element, starting for Fee against a team that loves the paint. Obviously not an easy task, and it just sort of seemed to unfaze her. Just how, I think she stuffed the box score sheet in about every way possible. Just did you know this was the player that you were getting?
It went exactly as I thought it would. Exactly. I didn't lose any sleep at all. Being really honest, we were, sort of unsure what was going to happen, but we needed to be ready. And we spent a couple days looking at different options. And late last night, our messaging, we still just couldn't come to a unanimous decision. And so then finally, you get the players involved. And, what did you see? What did you guys feel like? And so they were sort of put us over the top in a direction. They're very comfortable with Mosh's and Peely as well. I mean, there were kind of for and against type scenarios, and then we just kind of said, okay, so what we're going to do. I will tell you, I believe that Masha was probably pretty uptight going into the game. You have to be, right? You had to have some feelings. It's a good question for her. How did she feel? Because she was still learning plays in today's shoot-around. And we were still on the fly trying to teach her stuff. And so that's even more impressive, right, that she isn't quite comfortable. What we have learned is Masha does a lot when we coach her, and she really doesn't understand a lot. So we learned that quickly, because we would say, do this, and and then the next time not happen, we're like, okay, so wait a second, to us means yes. Like, yes, I understand. So we're learning that in Russia, does not mean yes. It must mean I don't understand. And Masha is obviously a mature player, played for ECAT, at a time when ECAT was, the top team in Europe. And so she's confident in her game. Not one time have we had to coach Masha offensively. Not one time in her screens, her rolls, her post-ups, her offense rebounds, her passing. Not one time have we had to coach her. She's been a great fit that way. That defense is a little harder, right? Because especially with these guys, they put you in some challenging situations. But she handled it.
And on the topic of playing through the defense, waiting for when to find the leak to break through on the offense, the play that ended the third, that fast break from Carly to T to Diamond to beat the buzzer was at that point the loudest the crowd had gotten all night, and Diamond chest bumped T right out of the screen. That was we would watch the replay on.
Yeah,
did it kind of feel like that was sort of like the tide's turning? And,
absolutely, I think it helped. Every little bit helps. And obviously to be when you're at home and you do that, right, and the place goes nuts, right? Now you're going into your timeout, and you're coming out of that quarter. That group was still in there, so they still had the adrenaline from that. And again, I thought their next few minutes was it was kind of gave us the opportunity to prepare for the home stretch, and I just enjoyed the team win nature of this game.
Just talk about the resilience all year long. But now I think, Fee's missed 2.5 games. You've won all 3 of those games. You've trailed at the half 4 times. You've won all those games. They found a way to win tonight. Win for 3.5 quarters. They just didn't seem to be able to get into an offensive rhythm. Yeah. It's just is that just the problem-solving thing again?
Well, and they talk about it. Courtney's very good at intimating how she feels that this team feels about each other. That they know they're fine. That they're not going to get flustered. They're not going to break. They're not going to quit. They're going to just keep trying to figure it out, work through it. And, that's a special thing that they feel it. This is not, where I'm trying to get it out of them. They do it on their own. That's natural to this group. So it's a long game. That's the one thing that we always say. Whether you're up and you're in the first quarter, you're like, okay, just the first 3 minutes, we're like, hey, could we play in 5-minute segments? Like, we still have 3 minutes left in this 5 minutes, right? And then 2 minutes later, they got 8 points, and we're like, hey, we still got a minute left in this 5 minutes. So there are so many possessions. It's such a long game. And we talked about that before the game, that we wanted to stay connected, as we always do, through runs and answer runs. When we get a lead, really lock in on how do we come out of this timeout, not be content with the lead, and how do you step on them a little bit. And so they do. They have a special way about them, that they're going to keep plugging away.
You were talking before the game about defending without fouling.
Yeah, thanks for asking. That's a really good one. Yeah,
a little bit of an issue early on, able to settle down later. What were some of the adjustments that were made, and to what extent do you think you guys were able to correct some of those early issues?
We were okay for a lot of the first quarter. We got in the bonus in the first 5 minutes. Really couldn't capitalize. We couldn't put enough pressure that they would foul us and we could get to the line on it. But we were good until like the last couple minutes, and then bing, 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 we started fouling a little bit. We weren't necessarily happy in the first half with some of the downhill drive the paint layups, the last play of the half, when we don't manage the clock well. We have 24 seconds left into second quarter, at the end of the second quarter, and we go running up as if it's the first 24 seconds of the quarter. Don't manage it. We score with 7 seconds. They come back at us. So that was a big-time topic at halftime is, our shell defense is what makes our defense good. And there are some players that are really good at knifing through small spaces, and Plum is one of them. And so we, again, just at halftime, showed some of the things we weren't getting done. We knew they'd put the ball in the post a little bit more. We weren't getting, the guards weren't doing their job, bumping, the bigs that are coming to the block. So they were getting some touches down there. So once we cleaned that kind of stuff up, a little bit better shell, bigs up at the point of the screen, so that Plum couldn't just knife through the defense all the time, which she still did. They sprayed the ball around on us, but it wasn't in rhythm. So I thought we did a better job after halftime in those two spaces.
And another question, just a little bit away from the game, but obviously you guys are celebrating Pride Night. Wanted to ask just what that means to you, and also, in particular, you guys have been running these no hate campaigns.
Yeah.
A bunch of folks, players, coaches speaking in those, show at pregame. So first, just wanted to ask again, the Pride Night, what does that mean? But then also, I mean, have you felt just an uptick in some of maybe those hateful comments at games?
Yeah. I don't know on the hateful comments in terms of what was experienced last year. I think online is such a vitriol-filled place. I think our players are, Courtney will, probably manage it a little bit better than a lot of people, but I don't think you can change that. I don't think there's any change in that. You have a choice whether you be on there. You certainly can, set some parameters and controls on your social media. I think it's really important that you're not on social media. I think that's the biggest thing, and don't pay much attention to it. In terms of pride, I have a 10-year-old who knows that his parents, are members of the LGBTQ plus community. I've seen him be on this journey. He loves having two moms. Really, really loves having two moms. And even more than that, he will do anything for us, and he'll protect us in any possible way. And what I've learned, it was easier when you're younger, when you're in kindergarten and first grade and second grade, because that's what we're teaching the kids, right? And then the kids get a little older, and we stop teaching them. We stop teaching and holding them accountable. And so when he was younger, it wasn't just him that would call out kids using words in a derogatory way. Whether now he's in sports, and you have some adults, boys will be boys kind of stuff that Oliver recognizes, and he's finding it harder. He just voiced to me the other day, I heard it, but I wasn't sure if I could say anything. And the older you get, that's what starts to happen. And so pride is important, right? You got to love when cisgender, probably mostly, here I go again, white males, that it's easy for them. We don't have straight day. Well, you're not the one that can lose a job for your sexuality. You're not the one that's going to be discriminated against in every possible way, and even threats of violence on your life. And so I don't understand how people don't understand that what marginalized groups go through. In my own family's journey, having, supportive brothers, like, probably typical parents that one's really good, another one's not as good. And understanding now as a parent the power of your words and your support and what you mean by unconditional love. This is what it means to me, is that, I was bullied when I was in high school. I'm walking down the hall and somebody's yelling "dyke" down the hallway. And you feel very alone and isolated and scared to be yourself. I did have, a mostly supportive family, but I didn't care. I was just going to be me. But not everybody, has that opportunity. And so pride is our safe space. We are celebrated. And it is a time that we feel like we can be ourselves. Because most times outside of pride, you feel like you can't. I'm 58 years old. You know what they say when you get in your 50s, and about the things that you don't give, they say you care less. You care less. But when you are on a journey and you're you're a teen, when you're in your 20s and your 30s and you're trying to keep a job or get a job, when you're in your 50s, you don't care. So I've made it. I've ran the race. Pride is important that we are a part of and celebrate and talk about for all those lives that are going to go, to a similar path, but maybe not have as good of an outcome as I had. Yep, thanks. Yeah. We do. There was a game, let's say Saturday. It was a game today, but they pretty much have not qualified to advance. And so Jess should be back probably on a plane tomorrow. So we should expect her. Now, don't hold me to that, but that's what we think is going to happen. Thanks.